Hello and welcome to your September edition of Essential Cardano360, your monthly roundup of just some of the latest news and developments from across the Cardano ecosystem, brought to you from the team at Input Output. So you may have noticed we took a bit of a break from the show over the summer months, but we're back and fired up for an exciting few months ahead. The remainder of this year will see a huge community effort as we head into the second and final stage of the Chang upgrade and prepare for December's Constitutional Convention. So stay close to keep up to date on all the latest developments. Now, before we dive in, if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to subscribe and to hit that bell icon, hit the thumbs up and drop us a comment for the algorithm to help get more people seeing this. Even if it's just to say hello, we always try and say hello back. And you could even wish yourselves a very happy 7th birthday, for yes, Cardano turns 7 this month, and maybe share what you love about this project and this community. Let's kick things off with Project Catalyst, Cardano's turbocharged innovation engine. It's an innovation grant fund like no other, empowering creators and builders from across the ecosystem to submit funding proposals to help take their project to the next level. Recently, the team released their Catalyst Horizons report, outlining just some of the key highlights that we've seen to date. With over 1,600 projects across 114 countries, Project Catalyst has been providing crucial funding and utility to incubate early-stage innovations, hack the ecosystem, and find real-world use cases for Web3 adoption. Here's Kriss and Danny for more.
Hey everyone, Daniel and Kriss here from the Catalyst team. Today we're diving into the newest and most exciting updates from the world of Catalyst. If Project Catalyst is new to you, let's take a moment to get everyone up to speed. Kriss, can you fill us in, please?
Sure. So what is Project Catalyst? Well, Catalyst is really a revolutionized, decentralized innovation and distributed decision-making program. What does that mean? Well, it's a grant program like no other, where you guys in the community submit ideas to the Catalyst program, the community reviews all those proposals, and then ultimately votes to decide which of those proposals should go from their ideas into realized projects that are funded directly from the Cardano treasury. Over the last 4 years, we've funded nearly 1,900 projects from over 110 countries, which has amassed over 3 million votes from the community and allocated over $100 million worth of Cardano's native cryptocurrency ADA to those funded project teams. All in all, this is a great experiment in human collaboration.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Kriss. Well, Catalyst has become really a thriving cornerstone of the Cardano ecosystem. Our team has recently released a special report packed with deep insights. Plus, there's been a buzz about the local Spotlight edition while Catalyst's been on tour. Kriss, can you share more details about what this report is and where did we go?
Absolutely, Danny. Yeah, it's really our pleasure to proudly publish our first Catalyst Horizons report, which is a deep dive illustration of all of the hard work of our community of builders, creators, entrepreneurs, innovators and visionaries, where we've taken the data set up until the end of Fund 11 and looked at how much impact has been created over the course of the last 4 years. So if you go to projectcatalyst.io, you'll be able to download the Catalyst Horizons report, where you'll get a real good insight into all of the different avenues and areas of innovation that the Cardano community has voted to approve funding for from the Cardano treasury. Just in the last few days, I've been very proud to be on tour with Input Output, visiting the Japan region and presenting the Catalyst Horizons report and a very special Japanese spotlight that deep dives into the region of Japan and how Japan is one of the most important producers of innovative ideas building out the Cardano ecosystem. So would you believe it? Over 17 million ADA has been allocated to 110 projects from the Japan region. And again, I would encourage anyone that's interested to understand what's really going under the hood of the Catalyst corridors and machinery in action to go to projectcatalyst.io and take a look into the Japan Spotlight and the Horizons report more broadly to get a real flavor for all of the great things that are coming out of our ecosystem.
Well, there you have it. Now make sure you keep an eye on the space for future updates to these reports, because I'm sure you'll find them really exciting. Now, while on tour in Japan, meeting local community members and also project founders, Kriss, you had a great opportunity to share that Fund 13 was just around the corner. Fast forward to today with the launch. What sort of categories are now in place that projects can consider submitting under, and what's the one thing that excites you the most about the active Fund 13 round right now?
Yes, well, Fund 13 is upon us. Another 50 million ADA is available for you creators and builders out there. We've taken another view of community feedback following on from the Catalyst working groups that have been taking place over the course of the last 3 to 4 months. Taking a lot of those outputs and insights that were generated from those working groups and looked at what would be practically and feasible to implement for Fund 13. In Fund 13, we will have a familiar 6-category format, but for this time round, there is only 2 Cardano use case categories. Cardano use case concepts, which is for the early stage prototyping through to MVP projects, and this is a consolidation of the MVP and the concept category tracks from Fund 12. So there are no longer 2 categories tracks, there is just that one Cardano use case concepts track, and then the Cardano use case products track for more of those later stage projects. Additionally, there is 2 Cardano open tracks. Nothing changed since Fund 12. Cardano Open Developers will be supporting open source development software projects, and then Cardano Open Ecosystem for all those grassroots marketing, outreach and education projects that help to really kickstart some of those local community hubs. Now, I think what's most exciting to me is the evolution of the Cardano Partners and Real World Integrations category, which in Fund 12 was our first pilot. We've taken on feedback from Cardano and Catalyst working groups and the community at large and look to separate this category into 2 separate tracks. We have Cardano Partners Enterprise, which is going to be the real world R&D integrations, taking Cardano implementers and some of the late stage innovations and putting them into industrial use case in collaboration with some of the leading brands and organizations in their own industries. Additionally, there will be the Cardano Partners Growth Track, which is there to serve and provide funding for mainstream adoption, marketing and venture acceleration projects. Building on all of the great output and activity from the Fund 12 Cardano Partners category, I'm really looking forward to seeing this evolution that will bring Tier 1 venture accelerators, marketing platforms and industry leaders integrating Cardano-based technologies into their own industrial use cases coming to the table in Fund 13. In addition to that, this funding category will have quite a significant increase in budget. And again, this is building on learnings from these Catalyst working groups. I think it's fair to say that if we want to see mainstream adoption and we want to see interesting industrial use cases come to the fold, we need to anticipate that these projects are going to cost a little bit more. And honestly, we want to see the caliber of projects go from 6 projects funded in Fund 12 to up to maybe 15 to 20 projects funded in Fund 13. So for that, this category alone will have 20 million ADA allocated to those 2 tracks. And this is what it's going to take to go from 2,000 projects, which have largely been built by the community, to seeing 20 of those being realized by some of the most well-known, recognizable brands from all around the world.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Kriss. Now, all the excitement around the latest funding round is there, but in the meantime, team is also working diligently on other exciting initiatives to meet the milestones outlined in the Catalyst's long-term development plan. Could you share a few quick updates on the team's current status and what additional projects are being pursued alongside this active funding round?
We have 5 active projects funded by you guys in the community. So beginning with Catalyst working groups, this project is now coming to a conclusion, and over the coming days and weeks, you should see the final reports from this project. Our Fund 11 alternate voting mechanisms project is also now in prototyping stage. We've completed milestone 3 and we're really looking forward to seeing the outputs of these prototypes to evaluate what are going to be some of the changes we can make to voting schemes in the future. Additionally, Catalyst Fund Operations, I understand Fund 12 has now been approved by the community. So we're now into the depths of Fund 13 and bringing to a conclusion our interim and final impact reports initiatives. And then last but not least, Catalyst Voices and Hermes. We're making really great technical progress. Obviously things are at a position now which, we're in the depths of technical complexity, and we've got minimum viable experiments that are beginning to emerge, and over the coming weeks we're going to be very proud to present some working prototypes for you guys in the community to play and click along with. So hopefully that's a good update from the Catalyst team in terms of all the projects that we're delivering for you in the community.
Well, it absolutely is, Kriss, so thank you for summing that up. So what is next? Today, September 26th, is the first day when the official submissions are open for Fund 13. So what do we need to keep in mind? Projects have from today until October 10th to submit, and then until October 16th to finalize their submitted drafts of their ideas. If you are thinking about submitting a proposal to Partners Track, the submission deadline there is until November 7th instead. Equally, with Fund13, community review will also give it another great opportunity for community to participate as reviewers and provide valuable feedback and opinions about submitted proposals. So make sure to keep an eye when registration opens in October on IdeaScale so that you are ready to participate for the first time. Thinking about voting? Well, the voter registration is set to commence in the first week of October as well, with voting snapshot on November 20th and voting itself planned for the first 2 weeks in December. So if all goes well, we should all learn the results in mid-December with first onboarding steps to take place in January next year. As always, make sure to keep an eye on the official channels in case there's any change to these timelines. So what else to add in the end? To learn more about Project Catalyst, make sure to bookmark projectcatalyst.io, surf the reports we talked about earlier today, or follow us on Catalyst_ on X. That way you won't miss a step. Until then, this was Danny and Kriss on behalf of the Catalyst team, and we thank you for your time today with us. Have a great day.
Now, I was lucky enough to join Kriss at events in Tokyo and Osaka, Japan, a couple of weeks ago, and it was great to see the grassroots passion for Catalyst in the country. So a special shout out to all the Catalyst projects there and indeed across the region. Project Catalyst is now well underway with Fund13, so be sure to register and sign up for the team's weekly newsletter and make sure you attend those town halls. Emerging market credit made credible. That's what RealFi brings to the table, with an aim to empower people with tools they can use to discover and support the growth of the underbanked businesses in emerging markets. RealFi is the culmination of the lessons learned throughout our time across Africa and in collaboration with business builders. RealFi's CEO John O'Connor recently spoke to our creative producer Richard Walker to share more about RealFi's journey. You can check out the full interview in the links, but let's have a sample of what John had to say.
So John, you've been working in the Cardano ecosystem for a while now. Tell us a bit about your background.
I was the first hire at Cardano Foundation. I've worked in the Cardano ecosystem for probably more years than I can count now. I was originally at the foundation, then moved over to Input Output. I've held a variety of roles. I was head of strategy, head of ecosystem, and then at IO, director of African operations. And really, I'm very focused on emerging markets, on the confluence of technology, finance, and what we can do with driving impact in those places that need it most.
For the uninitiated, can you give us a quick intro to your work?
RealFi is a business set up to drive more lending and more investment into emerging markets. It aims to solve the number one challenge faced by small businesses in emerging markets like Africa, which is access to finance. At RealFi, we believe that a business, whether it's in Nairobi, Bogota, should be able to raise off the strength of the actual business, no matter where they're located. And RealFi uses data to enable that to happen.
What are some of these challenges and problems that we're seeing within emerging markets?
If you think about the way in which Western economies work, a large amount of employment is really driven through large corporates. These are behemoth companies who can raise capital off public markets. And they're really who most people are employed by, if you were to think about somewhere like the UK. In emerging markets, it's pretty much the opposite. Over 70% of all jobs in emerging markets come from small businesses, or as the Americans would like to say, mom and pop businesses. And 50% of all GDP is driven by these companies, 1 to 5 sort of people. So when we think about what we can do to propel growth in emerging markets, it's really about making the fortunes of these small businesses better. And the number one way in which we can do that is access to capital. And that's the space in which RealFi operates.
So John, let's paint a picture of the current landscape. How are small businesses currently funded within developing economies at the moment?
You've got to understand the demographics of emerging markets. So you've got 75% of people under the age of 30, in some countries under the age of 25. 75% of all employment in these markets come from small businesses, and 50% of all GDP is derived from it. So the question of how to support these young entrepreneurs is the question of how do we grow these economies? Currently, they're going to banks, and banks are uninterested in lending to them. They don't have collateral. They don't have large amounts of transaction history to be able to draw from. And the banks would rather lend to government who's offering them 18%. So this like mismatch between the bank's incentives and the economy's incentive or entrepreneurs' needs basically means that they're incredibly poorly served by the financial structures that we have set up today. In our view, supporting this segment is going to be the crucial question for development in Africa and in emerging markets across the next 20 years. And at RealFi, we hope to contribute to that in some small way. And our solution is around data. We hope to use data to be able to prove that the risk of lending to these businesses is actually small enough or manageable enough that you can create a commercial model for lending to them. And we hope to rally capital across the world towards that cause. And we don't want it to be about, trust us or trust the small business. We want it to be about trust the data. And that's why we see RealFi as much of a data science business as it is a finance business. We ingest all of this information and we turn it into actionable intelligence for an investor to be able to make a commercial lending decision on. So far, we've done that to the tune of around $5 million. We hope to expand that significantly, fourfold by the end of the year, and then keep on growing from that. And, through this sort of commercial lending, we also hope to drive huge amounts of impact, whether it's job creation, whether it's carbon sequestration, supporting women entrepreneurs. There are a whole gamut of incredible impact goals, which we believe you can drive whilst also generating commercial returns. And that for us is the beauty of RealFi, generating good social good whilst still earning, reasonable risk-adjusted returns.
No, it all sounds very exciting. And I can imagine that a few of our viewers might want to get in touch with RealFi after this. How can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at JJT O'Connor. That's OCONNOR. There's also our RealFi Twitter and LinkedIn. You can just search RealFi on LinkedIn. On Twitter, I think it's RealFi_co. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more community engagement and updates next year as our product offering gets a bit more Web3 ready. But yeah, feel free to reach out. We'd love to chat.
Thanks for your time today, John.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a while and looking forward to keeping you guys updated in the future.
So thanks again to John for the update, which you'll find in full in the links below. It's been a while since we had COTI on the show, creators of AdaPay, issuers of the Djed stablecoin, and now building a secure layer 2. We'll have CEO Shahaf Bar-Geffen on the show in just a moment. But before we do, let's get a technical update on Djed's recent improvements from IOG engineering lead Jann Müller.
Hi Jann, it's great to have you back on the show. It's been a few years since you've been on 360.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to be back.
Fantastic. So Jann, tell us a bit about your work within the blockchain space.
So I'm a Haskell programmer originally. I spent my first few years at IOG at the Plutus team when Plutus was still an idea and we were implementing it for the Alonso hard fork. More recently, I've been working on the Djed stablecoin and I'm the head of engineering for Djed now.
What's future development looking like at Djed?
After the recent updates, the main theme that we have now on our roadmap is decentralization. And that means a couple of features that we want to build. One important one that's almost finished is the ability to delegate the reserves to more than one stake pool. So right now, all of the reserves are delegated to a single staking credential, so a single pool. But with the changes that are coming soon, we will be able to split up the reserves for staking purposes and then delegate to a number of different pools. And we have some ideas for choosing the pools that we want to stake the ADA to. So in the beginning, we're going to suggest a list to COTI of the pools that should be receiving the stake. And we're going to make this list by looking at decentralization as a theme. So we want to support small community-run pools to just increase the overall decentralization of the network. Another way that we work on decentralization is open sourcing. So our aim is to open source the full system eventually. Right now it's proprietary and closed, but we want to make the code open and accessible to everyone. And we want to start that with the Oracle that's used by Djed. And then we want to open source the rest of the code base as well. And then finally, for decentralization, we also want to make it possible to have multiple operators. Right now, there's only a single operator, COTI, but in the future, what we would like to see is a number of different operators all kind of sharing the responsibility of running Djed and making it more resilient to outages, attacks, and so on.
And what sort of opportunities do you think this decentralization will create in the future?
One opportunity that I see is the ability for Shen holders to take part in governance actions. So right now, Shen is a token that entitles you to parts of the reserves, and you get some of the revenues that are generated by the stablecoin. But with this decentralization effort, we want to add some kind of voting rights for essential governance actions, like deciding on the parameters, upgrading to a new version, and so on. All of that could be coupled to the Shen token, for example.
I understand you've got a couple of Catalyst proposals that you're working on at the moment. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so we have 2 Catalyst proposals that were accepted in the last round. One of them is a high-performance on-chain library, which we're going to build in Plutarch. So far, we've always used Plutus TX for our smart contracts. We are planning to try out Plutarch for any new kind of development that we're doing. And to support that, we want to contribute a library with basic functions that you need in a lot of scripts. And we're going to write those functions. We're going to make sure that they're safe and fast and ready to use by any other projects that use Plutarch. The second Catalyst proposal has to do with updating smart contracts, because that's always a tricky step in the life cycle of any app on Cardano when it comes to updating to a completely new script, like changing the code of the contract. And here we're building a system where you can have verified or audited versions of contracts that you can upgrade to. So you're not in the dark as to what does this new version do, but there's a way of certifying that this is the right thing, this is the right version, and it's safe to upgrade from your old version to this new version.
Thanks again, Jann.
Yeah, thank you, Rich.
So I'm joined by Shahaf from COTI. How are you doing, Shahaf, today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. So for our viewers who haven't seen you before, just explain a little bit about your role within COTI.
I am the co-founder of COTI, and I've been the CEO of COTI, the company that builds the blockchain for the COTI Foundation and is involved in other projects like Djed, AdaPay, etc. I've been a tech entrepreneur for the past almost 25 years now. I'm getting older, and I've been in crypto since 2016, co-founding COTI in 2017.
Fantastic. So let's talk about COTI. What is COTI for our viewers?
Okay, so a lot of the viewers probably know us as the company that has released AdaPay back in the days, the first payment system on top of Cardano. Then a few years back, Djed, the stablecoin that has been released on top of Cardano chain. But other than that, we have our own chain, which is a privacy-centric chain, privacy-centric layer 2, and same school of thought like Midnight, but built differently. So the interplay here is that, there is the COTI Foundation that is obviously focused on, building our own chain and the partnerships around this. And then there is the company that is retained, maybe by the foundation, the company that actually builds the chain itself, which is where I am. And with that, we've partnered with IOG back, a few years back and released Djed. And we are the issuer of Djed. It means that we take care of the ecosystem and the front end and everything there. And IOG has built the smart contracts and the backend system for Djed. And, we're very proud of that. I think one of the best takes that I heard of Djed recently is that Djed is so boring to a point where it's amazing. A stable coin that never loses the peg, never, no dramas, no fuss, dire market conditions, changes, in ADA price, but Djed remains solid and strong. And I think that a boring stable coin is great news. And there's been a recent update. You probably heard about this. And, Djed is moving forward quite nicely.
Fantastic. So let's talk about privacy. You kind of touched on it a little bit there. So in a global digital economy, why does privacy matter? Why build a privacy-centric layer 2?
Oh, thank you for asking that, because we believe that privacy is the most important thing in crypto right now and in the next 10 years, and probably the biggest opportunity as well. Because if we are to live in a future where the internet is built as a Web3 internet, meaning an internet that is ruled by protocols and tokens, and not in a future where just a few companies control the internet and all the data in it, then we must have a way for confidential transactions, or a way to selectively decide what sort of information we share and what sort of information we rather keep private. And the nature of public blockchains right now means that data is available the entire time to everybody. And this is not the way that most people would like to have their data handled. Most people would like to have some form of control over who they share their data with and what sort of data they share. But it's not just people. Businesses will never adopt a public blockchain unless it can keep a secret, quoting Charles Hoskinson and Ran Barak from Midnight. So this is critical for the future of the internet. And we believe in this freedom of choice where you can decide what you want to share with whom. And this is why we are building a confidentiality layer on top of a public blockchain.
Tell us a little bit about the COTI model then, and how you're going to put this idea into practice.
First of all, COTI is built as a layer 2. We understand that there are enough layer 1s out there, so we're building COTI as a layer 2, and so essentially it's built as a rollup. So scalability is baked into the system. But that's not unique. What's unique is, I would say, two big things. One is the sort of technology that we use for data confidentiality. And that technology is being implemented on blockchain for the first time. And it's called garbled circuits. So garbled circuits, without getting into all the technical minutiae, means that it works like fully homomorphic encryption, in the sense that you can take data, encrypt it, then use it on a public blockchain without needing to decipher it. But unlike fully homomorphic encryptions, it works about 1,000 times faster and much cheaper to use. So you don't need to sacrifice performance to get privacy. So garbled circuit is the big thing. And I said the other thing is that we are building COTI on top of our current chain. Means that we already have a lot of liquidity, listing everywhere, etc. So it's actually a continuation of what we do right now.
What else can we expect from COTI further down the line? What else is in store for us in 2024?
Right around the corner is the Ignition campaign, the birth of our ecosystem, where we announce the release of our testnet and also the first partners to build on top of COTI. So that's very exciting, and it's really around the corner. Down the line, we will announce the way we are building our nodes ecosystem. I think it's super interesting. Nobody has done this type of an ecosystem before. We've taken a few great ideas from Cardano as well, in how to build stake pools and delegated staking, etc., but added a lot of cool features. So I think people will be excited about this. Next, and this is the first time I'm talking about this, is our vision for cross-chain privacy. What if you could take garbled circuits and the sort of things that we are building on top of COTI right now, but use this in various other chains, like Cardano, for instance? So that is coming as well. Lastly, is you can expect a high cadence of new use cases introduced, like how we imagine the world and crypto built with privacy enabled, and then new partners actually using this system, whether it's things that we already know, like wallets and confidential transactions and DeFi, etc., to new and interesting use cases, like try to imagine DePIN with confidentiality. So you can expect that to come as well.
And Shahaf, I also understand that you're looking to onboard a few new partners and work on a few new use cases soon as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Like with any innovative technology, there is always, research and development. So the business is not different. So we research new use cases. We try to imagine Web3 and crypto and think, hey, if we could add confidentiality to this use case, like DePIN, what would it mean? What sort of features could be added to dApps, and is that interesting? So we do that. And the other thing that we do when it comes to development or business development is that we onboard new partners in a very high cadence now. where we already understand like the use case and how privacy matters. So DeFi, RWA, identity, wallets, etc. Two examples maybe. It's clear that if I can decide when I'm sending, crypto from my wallet, hey, I want this transaction to be private for various reasons, and it's also my, it's my right to have this private. So it's clear that, wallets should support this. So we're onboarding partners like wallet partners. The other thing is, let's say DeFi, right? The DeFi is amazing, but the problem is that the user experience on a centralized exchange is better because you can have features that you just can't have on a decentralized exchange because of the public nature of the chain. So when you can add confidentiality, you can do things on a DEX like stop loss orders that is critical for traders, professional traders, and we allow that. So we onboard new DEXs like Privex that support that. So we research ideas, and then we onboard partners to support this.
Very exciting times, Shahaf. No, thanks again. And just for our viewers that want to get in touch with you, how can they connect with you online?
You can always find us on our website at COTI.io, COTI.io. We are also on X as COTI Network, and we have a very vibrant Telegram group called the COTI Network. You can find me as Shahaf BG, Shahaf BG, on all socials, whether it's X, Telegram, etc. And please reach out.
Thanks for your time, Shahaf. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me, and I will happily join again.
So we've got something of a governance triple bill coming up for you next. Intersect, the Cardano member-based organisation, has been a key facilitator of the governance conversations within the community. And as efforts around the constitution, roadmap, open source initiatives and more continue to ramp up, Jack Briggs, Director of Marketing and Ecosystem, joins us to give a quick update on the member-based organisation's focus over the months ahead, including a series of annual member meetings across the world. And on that global theme, community workshops to help shape a constitution for Cardano kicked off in August and will continue till the middle of October. We also have an update for you on the constitutional journey leading to December's convention with my colleague Danielle Stanko, Secretary of the Civics Committee at Intersect, and also Kavinder Karyapama from Coin Salon and Intersect Sri Lanka Members Hub. Last but not least, Lloyd Duhon will give us an update on the ongoing process of defining an annual budget for Cardano, key to ensuring its long-term sustainability and evolution.
Hi there, I'm Jack here at Intersect, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about what our focus areas are for 2024, and also 3 things to sort of look forward to and get involved with. So firstly, just a reminder, Intersect is a member-based organisation for the Cardano ecosystem, and that's tasked with developing Cardano's future through roadmap, through budgets, and through supporting Cardano's on-chain governance, ultimately here to further strengthen Cardano's decentralization. So just a quick reminder to Intersect's mission, at least in 2024 and 2025, that is to ensure, through our members, the lasting continuity and progressive development of Cardano, fostering a self-sustaining ecosystem that's fit for purpose and, importantly, perpetually future-proof. And so our 3 focus areas, our core focus for the remainder of 2024, is to support Cardano's on-chain governance, is to prioritize a product roadmap, and also create an annual budget process for Cardano, all things that are brand new to us as an ecosystem. So Intersect is here really to provide a platform, a structure for open inclusion and contributions across our membership base. And we're doing that through various different streams, such as committees, working groups, special interest groups, and also events and then various other things. So jumping into what's happening right now that you can get involved in, if you're watching this on the day of publication, on the day of broadcast, the 26th of September, you've got 1 day left to nominate yourself across our 7 core committees here at Intersect. So you can apply directly to join those committees, and your fellow members at Intersect will be voting on you and their preferred candidates in October, starting on October the 4th. So that's also coming up next week. Voting will be open for a couple of weeks. And as I said, members will be electing and selecting their top candidates for those committees and the governing board. It's really important to mention there are 2 available seats for Intersect's governing board, and they're open to members to apply for too. This is really demonstrating that Intersect is a member-based organisation driven and led by its members, and elections are a big part of that transparency and accountability pillars that we have here at Intersect. So that's first thing that's coming up and sort of right now you can get involved in. The second thing that's on the horizon in October is our annual member meetings. Kicking off in Tokyo on October the 4th, we're then going to roll through to Lisbon, Sri Lanka, Ghana, Mexico City, and Austin, where we're going to get members together in person, and we're also holding a virtual special town hall for all members that can't get out in person. We're going to be looking back at what's worked well at Intersect this year. It's been our first year, so what's worked really well, what's recognizing contributions, looking back at all the successes and everything else that goes in between, but then also knowing there's still work to do, still got a lot of improvements to make, and where could those fall? And we're going to be talking about that together as members and really shaping 2025 plans for Intersect to become a more effective and efficient organization into the future. So open to everybody, all members are able to participate in those meetings, and I'd very much like to see as many people joining and contributing, please. It'd be great. Followed by the annual members meeting, we have the next Chang upgrade. So just it's quite an important call to action here. We're about 2 months away, give or take, before the next Chang upgrade can happen, unlocking the final features of Cardano's on-chain governance. And as you would have seen during September, DREPs have been registering in their numbers, and also ADA holders have been delegating to them too. And there's 2 months left to do that. In fact, 2 months left before the second hard fork. You can always delegate and register to become a DREP any time from now until the future. But one of the big milestones we have is this second upgrade that's coming up in early December. And we would like to have as much ADA participating in the governance design as possible, so that ultimately we're getting better outcomes on chain that reflect the majority of us in the community. So there's my 2 call to actions. Head to gov.tools to find out more about how you can register to become a DREP, or find a DREP of your choice and delegate to them directly via GovTools, so you can connect your wallet there and get all of that done. And also you can join an RSVP for any of the annual members meetings that are happening throughout October. You can check out our latest news page on our main website for that. And that's it for an exciting September/October. And for those that are able to get out to Dubai for the Cardano Summit on the 23rd and 24th of October, you can join some of the Intersect team and fellow members at our booth. So I'd love to see as many of you as possible there too. Thank you.
Carvinder, Danielle, great to speak as ever. Tell us about your involvement within the Cardano Constitutional Workshop space.
Hi everyone, my name is Carvinder Karyaperma. I'm the founder CEO of CoinCeylon and also the hub manager for CoinCeylon Intersect Hub here in Sri Lanka. Recently, we had the privilege of being a part of the constitutional workshops, which have been incredibly exciting for me as personally, as well as the local community. I'm really looking forward to sharing more about that today.
Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Stanko. I'm a program coordinator at IOG, and I'm also serving as the secretary for the Cardano Civics Committee of Intersect. And that committee has been doing a lot of hard work preparing these constitutional workshops so that we can have community hosts running them throughout the summer.
So, Carvinder, what are the constitutional workshops? What's the purpose of them?
Well, these workshops are a series of gatherings that are happening around the world to bring the community together and discuss the draft constitution for Cardano. The main purpose of these workshops are to get feedback and ideas from people who are directly involved or impacted by the ecosystem and giving them a chance to give their input and their feedback. It's about ensuring that the Cardano's governance isn't decided by a few, but it involves the voices of people globally, and that the community plays a very active role in shaping the governance model that will shape the future of Cardano. We want to ensure this governance model reflects the views and the needs of the diverse community that's in Cardano currently. Everybody should have a say in what needs to go in the constitution, because this is a constitution that will govern the Cardano ecosystem, and it also will be a stepping stone for many other existing and upcoming blockchain networks to look up to.
Awesome. So what's the structure of the workshops? What would I expect if I was to turn up to one of them?
So if you speak about the structure is designed to be quite interactive and engaging. We start by going into the current interim governance model for Cardano just to set the stage, many of which will have a host and a facilitator as well, virtually or physically, to assist the workshop in certain aspects that we discussed during the draft constitution taken up for discussion. And then we go into smaller groups. So the good thing about it is the fact that everybody gets a chance to first reflect on their thoughts on what they think about specific points. And then you are partnered up with somebody else, which you get to discuss and debate and come up with your own ideas of what you think about it. And then you are also getting into groups of 4 or 6 people where you discuss among that group or what you think about that particular point and come to a group consensus which gets fed onto the system. The good thing about this is that even if you disagree with the group consensus, you can also give your own feedback as well. So this is something that is very hands-on and collaborative. The goal here is to make sure that everybody's voice is heard and their ideas are explored.
What comes out of these workshops? How do the workshops tie into the Constitutional Convention at the end of the year?
So one of the key outcomes from these workshops is electing 2 delegates to represent your community or groups. Now, these delegates will represent their communities at the Cardano Constitutional Convention, which is to be held in December in Argentina. So they're responsible for ensuring that the feedback from all of these workshops feeds onto the final version of the Constitution. So really, these workshops are the foundation for what will eventually be voted on and put on chain.
That's right. We're really on the brink of a really momentous period within the history of Cardano at the moment. And in your own words, why would somebody want to be part of these workshops? What do you think they'll get out of it?
Well, if you're passionate about Cardano, this is a very unique opportunity to have a real world impact. If you take good governance, you need 3 pillars for good governance. Some notion of democratic consent, some notion of institutions, and some constitution. So the constitution part plays a really huge role in all of this. So you get to contribute to a very defining moment in the blockchain history. It's not just for Cardano, because this has never been done before or attempted at this scale on any of the blockchain ecosystems. These workshops are happening around the world in 63 different countries, and everybody's coming up, and literally this constitution is being built from ground up. So it's a chance to get your voice heard, and you get to shape the future of how the Cardano's governance is going to be. So it's more than just attending. It's about you get to be a part of something much bigger than yourself.
Now that sounds really exciting, Kavinder. You've run quite a few of these workshops now. What have you particularly enjoyed about being involved with them?
Yeah, I myself was in Las Vegas for a constitutional workshop there on site of the Rare Evo exhibition as well, and the one that was held in Sri Lanka. Honestly, for me, it's been incredible to be around people who have such a wealth of knowledge that's been shared in different ideas. You get people from all sorts of backgrounds. You get developers, entrepreneurs, academics, legal professionals, and regular community members, all who have different ideas and insights. And these debates, the ideas that come out of these sessions, it's been really thought-provoking and inspiring. So you walk away from each of these workshops feeling like we are actually helping to build something truly groundbreaking. So looking ahead, I'm really excited to see how the feedback from these workshops will shape the final Cardano constitution. I feel like it's all about creating a governance model that's by the community, for the community. There's so much potential for growth in this ecosystem, and I think we are just getting started. So I feel like we should just keep an eye out and get involved, and let's all build the future of Cardano and blockchain technology together.
And turning to you, Danielle, where are we in the roadmap of the constitutional workshops, and what do we have to look forward to for the remainder of 2024?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. So we started these workshops in early August. They'll run until mid-October, so we still have some workshops left to run. And then once they conclude, we'll move into working with all of the selected delegates to prepare for the convention, and then we will have the Constitutional Convention in December in Buenos Aires.
Fantastic. And if anybody wants to get involved in the workshops, where can they find out more?
Yeah, so there's a Luma website you can go to. It lists all of the workshops. You can register to attend. And if you find that you can't attend one of the workshops, you can also fill out the same questions that are being asked by all the workshop hosts in a Google form, so you can go there and still have your voice heard.
Great stuff. Danielle, Carvinder, thanks again for your time today.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
So Lloyd, greetings to you over there in sunny Florida. How are you doing?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Now, for those people who haven't come across you before, Lloyd, perhaps you can tell us a bit more about your background and what you've been up to.
Yeah, I've been in Cardano since about 2020. I have been a part of a number of organizations throughout the few years I've been here, but most recently I've been working with the Budget Committee in Intersect as a subject matter expert.
Okay, Lloyd, so the Cardano budget, why does this matter, and why is this the direction we're going in?
So this is all driven by the Cardano Constitution. In the Constitution, it states that we have to set an annual budget, We have to set the net change limit, which is the way that the DREPs tell us how much of the treasury can be spent each year. So that's a protection mechanism that keeps the treasury safe and sound. All of this has to be done because this is the way that a decentralized ecosystem can organize itself and pay its own bills.
So Lloyd, tell us a bit more about how we got to where we are today. Give us a bit of background on how 2024 has been playing out.
Sure. So early 24, we were actually in London at a civics committee process workshop where we were setting out vision and roadmap processes so that we could determine what was the best way to get to a budget. And then from there, we've had to start building processes for the budget specifically that will help us to make sure that the funds are there to cover the teams that are building the things that would meet the needs of the roadmap.
So Lloyd, tell us about the process you've been going through and maybe some of the things that have been inspiring it.
So we started with a really wide net, and we started looking at things like the Linux Foundation and the Hyperledger Foundation, and then we even went to the US government and looked at DARPA, which allows, DARPA is designed around creating really potentially high-risk research, but that ends up with very good reward, and it also managed to resist adding extra layers of bureaucracy. So there were good lessons to learn from something like that that helped us to shape what we would be doing, because ultimately we're doing something very new here. We've got a big treasury that has to be protected and defended, and it also has to be used to keep the lights on, to keep us functioning and growing as an ecosystem.
Obviously, in a process like this, there's many challenges. Perhaps you can talk us through how you're addressing some of those.
Well, the challenges are legion. There are so many different things that we have to work through and so many different processes. We have to be compliant because we still have vendors who live in the world and have to take care of the various infrastructure of their companies. We have to be able to pay the vendors who are doing the work to maintain the blockchain. So there is every level of this path, there's another process that we keep finding that has to be built, that has to be understood, that has to be documented. It's a massive challenge of just raw work that has to be done. But there's another challenge. The other challenge is how do we make sure that the process is inclusive? How do we make sure it's transparent? How do we make sure it's fair so that everyone that wants to participate has a means and a direction they can go in order to participate?
Of course, I know that you published some of the initial versions of the budget work online. How did that go down?
So one of my favorite lessons to learn is that anytime you want to find out if you're wrong, you publish something on the internet. So we went ahead and we put out the full budget process and shared it to the world. We've got some great feedback. There were questions where people didn't understand things quite well enough, and so we've helped to try to clarify. We went to Rare Evo and gave a budget presentation at Rare Evo. That's actually available on the Budget Committee's website, and you can watch the presentation, and you can watch all the questions and answers, and you can see how that's been reflected in the work that's on the Budget Committee website.
So Lloyd, obviously it's been a very busy 2024, but what's 2025 got in store? How's this going to be rolled out over the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, the rubber's going to meet the road here. So we've got to complete the constitutional ratification. We've got to understand and ratify the net change limit on how we spend the treasury and how much can be spent at one time. We've got to ratify the budget for 2025 and then actually go through the process of sending the funds out to the organizations that are going to do the work, making sure they do the work, get it audited, and while that's going on, we also have to plan for the 2026 budget so that we are ahead of the curve next year and moving forward quickly so that 2026 will be more understood and easier to move forward on.
Very much all systems go, it seems. Now, if people want to get involved and learn more, what should they do?
So the best way is to obviously use the Intersect Discord server, and you can go to the Budget Committee area there. In addition, you can learn what's going on with the Budget Committee by going to the knowledge base from Intersect and going to the Budget Committee area there, and everything is there. Our meeting minutes, the annual budget process that we just talked about, the videos, everything is there for everyone to use and hopefully to learn to come and participate with us.
Fantastic stuff, Lloyd. Thank you very much for your time today.
It was a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
So a big thank you to Jack, Danielle, Kavinder and Lloyd for those updates. The constitutional workshops and budget process are both critical activities for shaping the future of Cardano's community-driven development. So make sure you get involved via the links below. Talking of community-driven development, what would Essential Cardano 360 be without a spotlight on some of the projects building on Cardano? Earlier this summer, Matthew Capps caught up with Iagon. Let's take a look at what they've been up to.
Navjit, great to have you joining us. Could you give us an introduction to yourself and also to Iagon?
Hey Matt, thanks for having me. And my name is Navjit Dhaliwal, and I'm the CEO and founder of Iagon. I've been working on Iagon since 2017. Iagon is a shared storage and compute economy, basically like a Airbnb for storage and compute.
It's been a while since we last talked, and a ton has happened in the interim. Could you give us a picture of where Iagon is at today?
There's a lot been happening at Iagon, and we're building out a ecosystem at Iagon with a lot of products that are being built on top of the storage and compute. So we have recently launched our Cyclone, which is basically a storage node that people can plug and play at home. So it kind of creates a lower barrier to entry for, let's say, the retail customers and consumers that want to participate in the Web3 economy but don't have the technical know-how. So it's a basically plug and play node which you can just install at home, and simple instructions, and you're online. And we recently kind of previewed that at the Rare Evo event in Las Vegas in August. Yeah.
And so you mentioned the word ecosystem there. Is it fair to say that Iagon has an ecosystem, whether internal of its own products, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a goal of building dApps on top of the infrastructure that create real-world adoption and real-world use cases. So we're kind of aiming for something like a suite of apps. Currently, we have storage, something similar to Dropbox. We're building out other apps as well, like web hosting. Right now we have static web hosting. We're going to have dynamic web hosting soon. Computing is the next goal, which is currently in closed beta. And we had a hackathon in Rare Evo for projects to build on top of the compute. So we saw some great ideas building on top of the compute. It could be anything from machine learning apps or anything that they want to focus on and build on top of the compute. So we saw some great different ideas, and there's possibilities. We also have our own line of products, not just the Dropbox. We have coming up also encrypted messaging at the end of the year, which kind of like a messaging app, which will tie into the storage as well. And we'll have like WeTransfer kind of file system as well. A lot of dApps being built on it. So we want to have similar suite kind of like to Google, where they have their docs and information and different kind of mail and different apps that they have built on top of it to drive some, let's say, use cases for not just the Web3, but also for the Web2 community, and providing also at the same time a more secure, private, and cost-effective solution.
Well, so why would somebody want to use a product or a suite of products like this that are built or connected to the blockchain, as opposed to using something like Google?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that in terms of the biggest kind of advantage of using not just blockchain, but distributed kind of storage and distributed compute is to have a secure and private network. Right now, there's big problems, for example, in storage. You have a lot of single point failures. And we've seen in kind of recent past, every few weeks, there's data leaks. Just as recent as the big one where Social Security records were leaked by the government, right? And the problem here is with centralized solutions is, files are stored in a specific place at a specific time in one place, right? So if that network or that specific server is leaked, all the data within it is leaked. So what distributed storage or decentralized storage helps out with the technology also implemented in terms of blockchain access layer, which adds another encryption to it, adds more security and more privacy to the network, meaning that when you're storing a file, it's not at one specific place at one specific time. So if there's a single point of failure, it's not going to leak the file because the only access point there is on chain, which is the security of layer 1, for example. And in this case, we're using Cardano as a layer 1, which is very decentralized in itself. So people would have to crack a Cardano or hack Cardano in order to get access to the network, right? So this is just one thing where you have the kind of the cost effective is another thing, right? So you have the security and the privacy. We're also able to reduce costs because we're using unused capacity. So in this network of participation, because we're Airbnb for storage and compute, anyone can provide their idle storage or compute to the network meaning that it reduces the cost by a lot because we don't have any labor, employee cost, upkeep costs. All this is done through the reward mechanism of IAG tokens, and it reduces our cost by up to 80% for both storage and compute, which makes us highly kind of attractive for not only end consumers, but also businesses as well.
So what else should people be looking forward to?
Yeah, we have a lot of things coming out. So like the Cyclone I mentioned earlier, which is kind of out for pre-order now, which you can order now on our website. There's a pre-order page. And there's other coming out like in terms of delegated staking. It's a little bit more technical, but people that are holding IAG tokens can basically delegate their Iagon tokens to any storage or a compute provider and increase their capacity. So without having to buy tokens to stake them, because as a node operator, you do need to stake IAG as a trust bond between the network and yourself. You can ask for other token holders to delegate to your node to increase your capacity. So similar model to what Cardano has, and that staking will also be liquid, meaning that you can also sell that stake at any time. And we have that coming up, and also we have a few other things coming up. We have a complete revamp of our UI in terms of storage. We're fixing that as well. And we have the WeTransfer coming up. We have 2 catalysts approved in the last Catalyst Fund. And we have 2 projects that we're working on. One is called the Network Explorer, which is coming out at the end of this year. And then we have Stature, which is a reputation protocol. So there's a lot of things going on. And, I advise you to guys check it out and contact us on socials. If you're wondering about anything, our Twitter's pretty active, so put your notifications on. We're always giving updates there.
If somebody wanted to get involved today, where would they go to connect with you guys?
They can go to iagon.com, and there's a docs section, which gives you all the information you need if you want to be, for example, node operator. It's a very simple onboarding process. We have catered to a lot of different software as well. You can install the node on Windows, on Mac, on CLI, and many more, Synology as well. And also the new kind of node networks that's coming up, which is the Cyclone, which is a plug-and-play device. So there's been multiple devices which they can participate in, and they can check all that information on our Iagon website.
Excellent. Navjit, thanks for joining us.
And you can find the full version in the links below. Well, that's nearly it for this month, but before we go, a few other things to bring to your attention. September, of course, marked a pivotal moment for Cardano in the age of Voltaire with the successful completion of the first stage of the Chang upgrade. Technical preparations, including the onboarding of DREPs, are now fully underway in preparation for the second and final stage when the full on-chain government gets switched on. It's a full-on hands-to-the-pump community effort with facilitation and coordination from Intersect, so make sure you join and get involved and stay close to their channels for all the latest progress on that. The latest Messari report on the state of Cardano, Quarter 2, was released at the end of August, packed full of the latest data on the Cardano ecosystem, so check out the link below if you want to dive in. Of course, as I say, IO has been on the road this summer, notably Rare Evo in Las Vegas and our recent Asia tour, where we held events in Tokyo and Osaka and ended up at Token 2049 in Singapore. It's been fantastic to be out there meeting the community and engaging with the wider industry and, of course, capturing lots of content. So keep an eye out on our YouTube channel for that over the weeks ahead. Well, that's it for September. Next month, the Input-Output team will be on the road again, supporting the Cardano Summit from Argentina. So keep an eye out for the live streams live from Buenos Aires. And join us again at the end of the month for more highlights from the team here, and just some of the projects building out the Cardano ecosystem. But for now, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're the first to know when the new videos drop. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you in October.